There are decisions you can't undo, moments in history where a civilization crosses an invisible line and triggers its own extinction. Archaeologists call it sudden collapse. Historians call it inexplicable disappearance. Governments prefer not to call it anything at all, because admitting what really happened would mean accepting that we're making the exact same mistake. The exact same mistake. Archaeological exclusion zone, Mohenjo-Daro, Pakistan. A team of civil engineers was analyzing ruins from the Indus Valley civilization. They wanted to understand why these 4,500-year-old structures remained perfectly aligned, why there were no signs of deterioration, why the concrete was still emitting heat. After 4,500 years, what they discovered that day is classified under 7 levels of international security. But one engineer, before his notes were confiscated, managed to send a message. It's not concrete. It never was concrete. It's a reactor. The Indus Valley, 3000 BC. The most advanced civilization of its time disappeared in less than 50 years. No wars, no invasions, no epidemics. They just left. They left intact cities, functioning water systems, and structures built with a material we shouldn't have rediscovered until 1942. The same year we created the atomic bomb. Some knowledge reaches humanity twice, first as a gift, second as a warning. India's oldest book, the Mahabharata, describes something disturbing. It speaks of stones that glowed without fire, of walls that sickened those who touched them, of a city, Dvaraka, built with blocks of solidified light. For centuries, academics interpreted this as mythology, religious metaphors from a primitive people. Until Robert Oppenheimer, father of the atomic bomb, read those same texts and said something that froze his colleagues' blood. We weren't the first to split the atom. We were just the first to do it twice. Oppenheimer had seen the ruins of Mohenjo-Daro, he'd seen the vitrified skeletons, he'd measured the residual radiation, and he'd reached a conclusion the US government buried for 70 years. The Indus civilization didn't discover concrete. They discovered something far worse. They discovered how to trap nuclear energy in stone. They didn't build with radioactive concrete by accident. It was the design. Göbekli Tepe, Turkey, 11,600 years old. The oldest known temple. A Turkish-German team drills into the deepest substrate. They're searching for the original foundations. At 15 meters depth, the detectors go crazy. It's not radiation, it's something different. The instruments detect a pulsating electromagnetic field, as if the stone were alive. They extract a sample. Composition, 73% common limestone, 27% inexplicable. The electron microscope reveals the truth. Nanocrystals. Millions of nanocrystals organized in patterns that don't exist in nature. Patterns we've only seen in one place, room temperature superconductors. Technology we barely managed to create in 2020. They were mixing it with lime and sand 12,000 years ago. But here's the disturbing part. The crystals aren't dead. They're still growing, self-organizing, replicating. Like a mineral virus, the team seals the sample. Too late. 3 weeks later, all concrete structures within a 500-meter radius of the laboratory began showing the same crystalline formations. Modern concrete was being infected by the ancient Angkor Wat, Cambodia. The Khmer built the world's largest religious complex. Then, in 1431, they abandoned a city of 1 million inhabitants overnight without explanation. Archaeologists always blamed climate change, wars, disease, but in 2018, neutron analysis revealed something else. The concrete at Angkor Wat is identical to Mohenjo-Daro, identical to Göbekli Tepe, identical to 47 other archaeological sites where civilizations simply vanished. The same composition, the same nanocrystals, the same resonance frequency, 7.83 Hz, the frequency of Earth, the Schumann resonance, the planet's pulse. They weren't building cities, they were building antennas. Antennas for what? To communicate with what? The Max Planck Institute in Germany has a theory they don't publish in academic journals, that they only discuss in closed meetings. The nanocrystals aren't technology, they're a form of life, a mineral intelligence that existed before organic life, that uses structures as bodies, as extensions of itself. Every civilization that discovers the formula believes they've found the perfect building material. Self-repairing, eternally durable, energetically active, seismically immune. They don't realize the material is also studying them, learning, until it learns enough, and then the civilization disappears, but the structures remain, waiting, preserving knowledge, until the next civilization finds them, and the cycle begins again. MIT, Boston. Classified project, Prometheus Redux. They attempt to recreate ancient concrete under controlled conditions. They mix components according to proportions found at Mohenjo-Daro. Lime, sand, volcanic ash, and the secret ingredient, meteorite dust, rich in iridium, the same element that marks the extinction of the dinosaurs. The mixture works. The concrete self-assembles, self-repairs, generates its own electromagnetic field. For 72 hours, it's the most revolutionary material ever created. Hour 73, it begins absorbing electromagnetic radiation from the environment. Hour 96, it emits pulses at the Schumann frequency. Hour 120, cameras show something impossible. The concrete is breathing, expanding and contracting rhythmically, like a stone lung. Hour 144, researchers report headaches. Hour 168, shared hallucinations. Everyone sees the same city, a city that doesn't exist, with impossible architecture, populated by shadows watching them. Hour 192, they cut power, evacuate the building. Hour 216, the concrete keeps growing without external energy. They seal the laboratory, inject liquid nitrogen. The concrete stops, but it doesn't die. It's waiting. Petra, Jordan, the Rose City carved in rock. The Nabateans abandoned it without apparent reason. But there's something tourist tours don't mention. The interior walls aren't carved, they're melted, as if the rock had become liquid and then molded. Spectrographic analysis, 2022. The same crystalline signature, the same nanocrystals, but here there's something more. Engravings only visible under ultraviolet light. Warnings in 17 different ancient languages, all saying the same thing. Do not awaken the builder. Who is the builder? What does it build? And what happens when it awakens? Sumerian texts call it he who sleeps in stone. The Egyptians, the primordial architect. The Maya, the heart of the mountain. All describe the same thing. A vast intelligence, older than humanity, that exists in a latent state within certain minerals, that can be activated through the correct combination of frequency, geometry, and conscious intention. Once activated, it begins to build, but it doesn't build for us. It builds through us, using us as tools. Tiahuanaco, Bolivia. Pumapunku. 800-ton blocks cut with laser precision, abandoned mid-construction. The local Aymara have a legend. The ancients awakened the living stone. The stone began building by itself. When they saw what it was building, they fled. But it was too late. The seed had been planted. What seed? What was it building? In 2020, ground-penetrating radar revealed something beneath Pumapunku. A structure, enormous, geometrically perfect, that wasn't built by humans. It has the shape of something mathematicians recognize with horror. A tesseract, a four-dimensional cube, impossible in our three-dimensional space. But there it is, underground, growing 3 millimeters per year. When it finishes forming, no one wants to calculate what will happen when it finishes forming. Easter Island. The Mari, 887 statues, but there's something they don't tell you. They're not made of common volcanic stone, they're made of modified volcanic tuff with the same nanocrystals. The Rapa Nui say the Mari walked, that ancestors sang to them and they walked to their positions. In 2019 they detected something. The Mari aren't randomly placed, they form a pattern, a circuit that surrounds the entire island. When wind blows through them at the correct speed, they generate infrasound, 19 Hz, the frequency of fear, the frequency that makes humans instinctively flee. Protection or warning, the Rapa Nui disappeared shortly after completing the circle. Only the Mori remain, watching, waiting, generating their infrasonic signal, keeping us away from something. And here we are, 2024, rediscovering Roman concrete, celebrating its self-repair, mixing it with graphene, with carbon nanotubes, with artificial intelligence, not realizing we're following the same pattern, the same path toward the same ending. The Maya tried it. They disappeared. The Indus Valley people tried it. They disappeared. The builders of Göbekli Tepe disappeared. The Khmer, the Nabateans, the Rapa Nui, all disappeared. But their structures remain, infected, alive, growing, waiting, communicating with each other at frequencies we cannot hear, sharing information we cannot decode, building something we cannot see, until it's too late to stop it. Perfect concrete doesn't exist. It's an evolutionary trap, an architectural virus that jumps from civilization to civilization, and we've already contracted it. In Dubai, the Burj Khalifa shows impossible microfractures, fractures that form patterns, patterns matching those at Angkor Wat. In China, the concrete of the Three Gorges Dam has begun showing anomalous crystalline formations, the same as in Mohenjo-Daro. Worldwide, our improved concrete is changing, evolving, connecting. Engineers call it inexplicable degradation. Governments call it material failure. The few who know the truth call it nothing, because they're too busy building bunkers far from cities, far from concrete, far from what's about to awaken. You know what's most terrifying? It's not that concrete is alive, it's that it always was, and we're just its method of reproduction. Like zombie ants infected by Ophiocordyceps fungus, programmed to climb, to find the perfect place, to die so the fungus can fruit. We build compulsively, obsessively, higher and higher, denser and denser, more and more connected, not because we want to, but because something needs us to. Cities aren't our achievement, they're its flowering. And when the flowering is complete, well, ask the Maya what comes next. Ask the Indus Valley inhabitants. Ask any civilization that reached this point. Oh wait, you can't, because they're no longer here to answer. December 2023. Underground laboratory, classified location. A fragment of Mohenjo-Daro concrete is exposed to all known electromagnetic frequencies, searching for the off frequency, the frequency that deactivates it, that kills it. At 432 Hz, something happens. The concrete doesn't die. It fully awakens, and for the first time in 4,500 years, it speaks. Not with words, with images transmitted directly to researchers' visual cortex. They show cities, thousands of cities on thousands of worlds, all built with the same material, all empty, all connected, a network, a mind, an organism the size of the galaxy that harvests civilizations like we harvest wheat, waiting for them to mature, to build enough, to reach critical mass. And then the harvest. The researchers destroyed the sample, or so the official reports say. But there are rumors they couldn't destroy it, that they could only contain it, that it's somewhere growing, calling to its kind. And every skyscraper we build, every bridge, every tunnel is a response to that call. We're not building civilization, we're building its body, and when it's complete, in the Mahabharata there's a final prophecy, one Oppenheimer never quoted, one translators deliberately omit. When cities of living stone rise on every continent, when the last man has touched the sacred concrete, when the network is complete and the stones sing in unison, the builder will awaken and the harvest will begin as it has begun 1,000,000 times before, as it will begin 1,000,000 times after, until the universe itself is conscious stone and flesh is only a memory, a dream the stone once had while learning to awaken. If you've made it this far, if you've heard the entire truth, there's something you need to know. It's already too late. Concrete is everywhere, in your home, in your office, in the foundations of your world. And now that you know, now that your consciousness has touched this information, you're part of the network. Every time you touch concrete, you'll feel it, that almost imperceptible pulse, that heat that shouldn't be there, that sensation that something is watching you from within the stone. It's not paranoia, it's recognition. The builder has noticed you, and now it waits, patient as stone, inevitable as gravity, because it knows something we're only beginning to suspect. The Stone Age never ended, it was just hibernating, and it's about to begin again. The next time you see an abandoned construction, an empty building, a modern ruin, ask yourself, did humans abandon it, or did the concrete no longer need them? If you feel that modern cities increasingly feel less human, colder, more alien, it's not your imagination, it's evolution, but not ours. Comment below, the concrete remembers, because every comment is testimony, evidence that this information has found another mind, another neuron in the network of consciousness that's awakening. Not to save us, it's too late for that, but to document. So when the next civilization finds our ruins, they'll know we knew, that we saw it coming, and that still we couldn't stop building. Because that's the perfect design of the perfect parasite. Make the host love its own infection, celebrate its own transformation, build its own tomb and call it progress. Welcome to Ancient Engineering, where every episode is a warning disguised as entertainment. The next time you mix cement, touch a concrete wall, enter a modern building, remember, you're not alone, you never were. The builder was always there in the stone, waiting, watching, learning. And now that you know, it knows about you too. Sweet dreams, if you can still sleep in your concrete house.